You know, as we look at 6 and 7 and watch them unfold, we see that as we give up these things, we have to force ourselves over here. It's a very difficult thing. And how do we change? We change by working against ourselves. And this is very difficult to do. It's very difficult to work against yourself. But that's the way you change. You will never change by doing what you want to do. Come on. If you do what you want to do, you will always be the same. You change by making yourself do the things you don't want to do. Everybody, people say, well, I just want to do. I say, well, what do you do? If you keep on giving in to their old thoughts, and when these thoughts come to our minds, our emotions come into our minds, we have to buy into them. We have to lend the actions to these emotions. When they come up in my life, I got to put the actions to them, and the resentment comes up. I got to get off into that resentment. Boy, and I just went on automatically, zoop, right on with it. And used to love to be in those resentments and share them with other people. Boy, I'd be going to work some morning, and somebody would cut in front of my car. Boy, I love that. I'd cuss him and talk about his relatives and his ancestors, and then file him down, like I said, file him down the freeway, way past your cutoff. And then go to work, Hey, let me tell you, you're writing the clock, and the other guy's up, let me tell you what just happened to me. Boy, this guy over here, almost killed me. You got to make it a little worse, Mess your whole day up. See, I did this. That man didn't really do this. I allowed this to happen. So now that I didn't know this, and I've seen how damaging that was in my life, those are the things that caused me to drink. Those things that caused me unhappiness. But I've been doing these things so many, many years. These old emotional habits is ingrained. So it's going to be very difficult. And this is what I am, See, a personality is just a group of thought processes that we have worked at over a period of time, and that's my personality. And I have packed a bunch of garbage, a bunch of unsaleable ideas into my personality. And I have worked at it and ingrained these things in, day after day, month after month, year after year. And this is who I am. This is the kind of thing I'm trading off each day. And now I got to change. I got to change. It ain't that I want to do, I got to change. But if I don't change, I'm going to go back to drinking. So it's very difficult to change. This is not an easy thing. But then it is. How did I get the personality I got? I worked at it. I worked at it. I just didn't do it one day. Hell, I worked in, day out, day in, day out, and day out. And now I got to work the other way. I got to work against myself now. See? I got to work against myself. And each day, and I watch these things, and these old ideas in my mind. I get up in the morning, it says, these little signs we have says, think, think, think. That's a good little sign. I used to didn't know what think, think, think meant. I said, that's a dumb sign. But it means don't feel. It means use your head. And it says, easy does it. First things first. Kind of organize your life. Slow things down a little bit, because after all, you're wrong most of the time. All right, you guys. Yeah, it's just sponsored. What's wrong with my life? He said, we're going to start with all of it, and then we'll find out if you got anything good. And as these things come up, we take ourselves off. I like to say we take ourselves off of the old automatic process for a while, since we know we're wrong. Everything we respond to wrong, instead of just responding automatically to something, we stop and look at it. Easy does it. First things first. And when our mind produces a thought, let's see if that's what we want to do. Let's analyze it. The chances are, it's wrong. And we have to lend the actions to that. As the mind produces these thoughts, we have to buy them with action. And if we quit buying into them with action, we see that they're wrong and don't buy into them, our mind will feed us something better. So, we got great minds. The alcoholics got great minds. But our minds have us living off of garbage. The good stuff is untouched. Most of it is going to go to the graveyard. So, what are we willing? If we're willing to let go of that. That's step 6. If we don't want action. What good is that? We've seen the value of it in the inventory. We've seen the damage it affects to our lives. We've seen it don't make us no money. It keeps us unhappy. So it ain't good business to buy. That's a bad stock in trade. And as we fail to buy into that stock in trade, it will be, the book says the old ideas will be cast to one side. And a new set of motives will begin to dominate our mind. See, we'll get a new thought process the same way we got our old one, by working at it, by working against ourselves. You know, it's very hard, and it didn't say this was simple, but it's not easy. It's easy to do what you want to do. Like the guy said, if you always do what you always done, you always get what you always got. That's obvious. You will. That's that's a law. And it's just like if we look at these things, and on a daily basis, as my mind brings these things up, I say, oh no, we did that the other day, and that didn't work. After all, we need to learn a little lesson. And we alcoholics we got fantastic minds. I've never seen a dumb alcoholic. I see alcoholics do some dumb things. But we got fantastic minds. That's the one I tell all the time about that guy that was going to transplant brains. They transplant a lot of things. And here this guy found out he could transplant brains. And this old fellow was having a lot of problems, and he went to the doctor. He said, well, doc, I'm having a little trouble. He said, I just can't think too well. And he said, I believe I need a new brain. He said, you think you can give me a new one? He said, well, I don't know. He said, well, let me run some tests, and we'll see. So they run a test on him, and after a few days, doctor come in and see him and said, all the tests were fine. He said, you're up in age, but you're good physical shape. I believe you'll be a good prospect for a brain transplant. He said, what do you have? What kind of brain can you give me? He said, well, come on in the showroom. I'll show you what we got. And he went there in the showroom. He said, we got this one here. He said, this is a lawyer's brain. He said, it's pretty good, in pretty good shape. And he said, that would cost you about $20,000. And he said, well, you got anything else? He said, yeah. He said, well, we got this doctor's brain over here. He said, it's in fine shape. And it'll run you about $50,000. He said, okay. He said, you got anything else? He said, yeah. I got one special case over here. He said, I got the brains of an alcoholic over here. And he said, it's in real good shape. And he said, it'll cost you about $100,000. He said, well, I can't figure that out. He said, why $20,000 for a lawyer, $50,000 for a doctor, and $100,000 for the brain of an alcoholic? He said, man, the alcoholic's brain is brand new. It ain't never been used. And truly, that's true. We have never used the real good part. We were living off of our emotions. We never used our brains. We'll never use it. Never used it. So at step 6, well, we can, and we have an emotional life. Our emotions is fine. A certain amount of emotions are part of the human life. If we didn't have this, we didn't have our emotions, we wouldn't be complete human beings. But it's not. You ain't supposed to live off of your emotions. Suppose you run a business off of your emotions. That's what we're doing. Suppose you run a bank off your emotions. Suppose when somebody come in and say, I want to borrow $100,000, you say, I feel like you're an honest man. and you didn't take no credit statement, man, you wouldn't be in banking business long. And that's what we're doing with our lives. Now we want to keep some of that, but we want to be serenity. A good, healthy living is well-balanced people. You know what I mean? People that have and that's why none of us can be perfect. It's to be like on a teeter, but we just living all one-sided, you know. And we want to be well-balanced. So only way we can grow this way, what are we willing to give up over here? Right? And in step 4, we should have seen the damage and effect of these things. And it's all about the growing is one of the great writers in the book the big book talks about growing is about daily dying daily. You know what I mean? What are you ready to give up? You know, everybody wants something better, but what price are we willing to pay? It's just like a grain of corn. You know, if we want to get a beautiful stalk of corn with some beautiful ears on it, one stalk has got to die. I mean, one kernel of corn's got to die so that stalk can grow. We got to give up something. That's the same way in life. The only thing we're asked to give up is the things that's damaging to our lives. You know, for the real valuable thing. But these things are really good to us. You know, first time, you know, early in the program, I was, you know, we were afraid we're going to get too good. I don't know why we all faced with that. You know, I just didn't want to get too good. You know, but once we see these things, that we give up. As we give up fear, we start having courage in our lives. And our book talks about we can almost see the absence of some of these things within our personalities, such as tolerance. Tolerance is it's there, but it's so short in our lives because it's overrode with resentment. The tolerance is short in our lives. You know, love is short in our lives. It's almost non-existence. But it's there. And love is simply, you know, our concern for another individual's welfare. It doesn't mean have anything to do with sex. Most of us, you know, but love is just a concern for another individual's welfare. And as an alcoholic, most alcoholics don't have a concern for other people's welfare. And love begins at home. And most alcoholics don't have enough concern for their own welfare. And how can they be concerned for somebody else if they're not concerned for themselves? He said, love thy neighbor as thyself. Be concerned about your neighbor as you are about yourself. If you're not concerned about yourself, then you can't be concerned about your neighbor. And this is a natural thing. This is the thing that bonds man together as a society. And when we don't have this ability on an individual basis, then we can't fit into society. You know, we don't seem to be able to fit in with people. Because basic concern is a healthy quality of a life to enable us to function and interact with other people. And people that over here are short of that natural ability or that thing that we need. When I come to Alcoholics Anonymous, you know, I was short of this, and they said, I think Alcoholics Anonymous is a kindergarten because it teaches you these things. First thing you do in Alcoholics Anonymous is as soon as you get going, they show you to show concern for the next alcoholic. And that's a natural thing for us to work at. We start there, being concerned for other people. And from there, this concern can grow in our lives and grow and grow and grow for the rest of our lives. But we're short of concern for other people. We're short of tolerance. The alcoholic, our serenity prayer says, you know, ask us to accept the things we cannot change. And the alcoholic don't accept anything. You know, we can't tolerate anything till change comes. And he said we're short of patience. Boy, short of patience, God. I hear the alcoholics pray the prayer, God grant me patience, but please grant it now. The ability to let life happen to us. And that's very difficult for a selfish, self-centered person to do. To let life happen to him. See, An impatient person, life has to happen on his time. And it never will anyway. So he'll always have frustrations. So patience, the ability to let life happen and not take actions too fast and not get frustrations, is a must for a healthy individual. And we let some of these resentments go, we'll find out that patience will come into our lives. You don't have to work at patience. You don't have to work at love. You have to work at tolerance. These things will come if you work against and not act out the things that are destroying your life. You have to fight against those things. Well, it's a matter of each day, of daily dying. It's a matter of, as these things come up each day, we've inventory them and we've been through them, and we can grow and grow for the rest of our lives. And these 2 steps enable us to continue to grow for the rest. Our lives are based on the use of these 2 steps. Now with this, it comes an awful lot of responsibility. If you got these steps and you're working them in your life, then after you learn to use these steps, if you have a problem, if you have some difficulties in your life, if you got some feelings going on in your life, you can't blame many people. You can't blame people anymore now. Because once you learn these steps, you learn this program, it ain't their fault anymore that you feel bad. If you feel bad, it happens to be your fault from now on. And that's a tough job. If you feel bad, it's your fault. It's something that you are not doing. It's not they anymore, it's you. And as we examine these things on a daily basis, if these things sneak back into our lives, before we know it, we're right back into some of them. We're acting some of them out. And we blocked ourselves off from the good stuff. Because we have a right. Whenever we exercise these things will leave our life. So we drive these things out of our lives. And over we can slide back into the scale. Gets lopsided again. And when it gets lopsided again and we stay there for long enough, we become restless and irritable and discontent, right? And the sanity of alcoholism returns, and we believe we can drink again sometimes. And we walk back in the liquor store to take a drink. When we take a drink, we do depress some of these things. I remember when I took a drink, I used to have a lot of patience, a lot of tolerance, and just loved everybody. Didn't have an enemy in the world. But and then over and over the troubles. But a good life, the real balanced character, we have to work. And it's our responsibility. It's our job. Now once we have ready for 7, it says, when we're ready, we say something like this: my creed, I now willing that you should have all of me, the good and the bad. All of me. I pray that you will now remove from me every single defect of character which stands in the way of my usefulness to you and my fellows. Grant me strength as I go out from here to do your bidding. Amen. We have completed step 7. This step is just like losing weight. Now, everybody's into losing weight. I know. I need to be into it myself. I seen that guy the other day that did in 400 pounds the other day. But anyway, everybody's into losing weight. And if you go look on TV, they got some of these different ads, particularly on TV, and they'll tell you, you can eat all you want on this diet and lose weight. Don't you believe that? It's just the same principle implies changing the mind as changing the body. Now, obviously, the principle is the same. If you want to change the mind, same way you change the human body. If you want to change the body, you want to lose some weight, if you want to do some rearrangements, you want to have a revolutionary change of the body, the way we do that is not eat what we want to eat and make ourselves eat what we don't want to eat, and we will change accordingly. We will change. Same thing. we have to not eat. Now, the first thing, we have to not eat the things we like. And then we got to make ourselves eat the things we don't like. I remember I was on one of those things for a while. It's tough, you know. Yeah. I didn't know there was so damn much lettuce in the world that week. Okay, and that ain't my thing, you know. See, I had to first not eat the cornbread. And make myself eat the lettuce. You know what I mean? Okay. I had to work against myself. In the same way, we can apply that principle to changing our personality. Not so long ago in Louisville, while I was going through this, Louisville bought me a beautiful jogging suit. Boy, this for Christmas. She gave me a hint. And it's one of them velour kinds, real soft, you know, nice for the fall. And I like to, and she bought me some blue shoes to go with it. Now, the main thing I do when I get home, I put it on and I lay up on the couch and I eat jelly beans in it. And I tell her this thing don't work, you know. But I have to be willing to work against myself. And when you work against yourself, you will lose weight based on those two facts. Based on what you let go of and what you make yourself do. Now we can come back to our lives are in our hands. We could grow and grow and grow for the rest of our life. We have the opportunity, and we are blessed in Alcoholics Anonymous to have a program of living. We have the opportunity as a result of being alcoholics and been through what we've been through. We found a fantastic program, a fantastic procedure. We can grow and grow and grow in our lives and change. We could, to where people wouldn't even recognize us. We'd be such different personalities. And we could overcome many things in our life. But we have this opportunity. But sometimes, you know, we have a very great, you know, the greatest handicap of it is, you know, we're in love with what we are. We can't be no better because we like what we are. And we ain't willing to give up nothing. Okay? That's the handicap. So it's all about giving up to win. You know, the things that we don't want to give up seem very valuable right now. They seem so valuable. Come on. Because we really can't compare them to the things that we're missing. Come on. What are we missing? You know, when you get to a certain point in your life, sometimes you look back on the things you gave up. Boy, they look like nothing. You know, they really look like nothing. But you will never know until you never know the better part of life if you're not really to give up on the little things. The things that you see as some value. And as we begin to practice these two steps, as we said in 4, 5, 6, and 7, in 1, 2, and 3, we put the center of our lives in the correct perspective. In step 3, as a result of 1 and 2, we made a decision to let God be a director of our lives. And that is the center of human life. And that's the correct position of God. God is supposed to be the director of the human life. For the first time in our lives, in steps 1, 2, and 3, we got the center of our lives in the right perspectives. And then we were able to go out to work in our minds. 4, 5, 6, and 7 is talk about ourselves, and I am a product of my mind. So we have the center intact, and now after 4, 5, 6, and 7, we see the things we need. We talk them over with another person. We made these adjustments. Now, for the first time, we got the second area of our lives in order. In order to be complete human beings, in the last 2 steps of the program to deal with our outermost dimension, our relationship with others. So in 8 and 9, we're going to, now that this is it, remember we made a decision. We said we're willing to go to any length. So we got one more hurdle to go. So next week we'll go into steps 8 and 9, the final 2 steps in the recovery process.